Hey, everybody. Welcome to Living the Creative Act, episode 23 of season 4, where we read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin and talk about it. Today, the chapter is called The Abundant Mindset. And I know that might be a trigger word for some people, especially with religious contexts. But let's hop on in and see what Rick has to say from the kind of creative perspective. This is pages 201 to 203 of The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And then, of course, we'll talk about it afterwards. He writes, "The river of material flows through us when we share our works and our ideas. They are replenished. If we block the flow by holding them all inside, the river cannot run and new ideas are slow to appear. In the abundant mindset, the river never runs dry. Ideas are always coming through, and an artist is free to release them with faith that more will arrive. If we live in a mindset of scarcity, we hoard great ideas. A comedian may be presented with a perfect opportunity to tell a favorite new joke they've written, but instead will hold it back waiting for a more high-profile occasion. When we use our material, new content comes through, and the more we share, the more our skills improve. Choosing to live in scarcity leads to stagnation. If we work on one project forever, we never get to make another. The fear of drought and the impulse for perfectionism prevents us from moving on and block the river's flow. Each mindset evokes a universal rule. Whatever we concentrate on, we get. If the mind creates a world that is limited, where we think we don't have enough worthwhile ideas or material, we will not see the inspiration the universe is providing. And the river slows. In the abundant world, we have a greater capacity to complete and release our work. When there are so many ideas available and so much great art to make, we are compelled to engage, let go, and move forward. If there is only one work to do, and we intend to retire when it's done, there is no impetus to finish. If each piece is approached as our life's defining work, we revise and overwrite endlessly, aiming for the unrealistic ideal of perfection. A musician may delay releasing an album for fear they haven't taken the songs as far as they can go. Yet an album is only a diary entry of a moment of time, a snapshot reflection of who the artist is for that period, and no one diary entry is our life story. Our life's work is far greater than any individual container. The works we do are at most chapters. There will always be a new chapter, and another after that. Though some might be better than others, that is not our concern. Our objective is to be free to close one chapter and move on to the next, and to continue that process for as long as it pleases us. Your old work isn't better than your new work, and your new work isn't better than the old. There will be highs and lows through an artist's life. To assume there was a golden period and you're past it is only true if you accept that premise. Putting your best effort in at each moment in each chapter is all we can ever hope to accomplish. There is always more we can improve, or another version to be made. We could work on something for another 2 years, and it will be different. But there's no way to know if it will be better or worse, only different. Just as you will be. And you may have evolved past the work you spent years laboring on. The direct reflection of you has faded. The work begins to look like an old photo instead of a mirror image. It's dispiriting to complete a work you've lost connection with. The recognition of abundance fills us with hope that our brightest ideas still await us and our greatest work is yet to come. We are able to live in an energized state of creative momentum, free to make things, let them go, make the next thing, and let it go. With each chapter we make, we gain experience, improve at our craft, and inch closer to who we are. This is such a fun little section. This last little bit really reminds me of improv, where you don't really have the time to come up with the best joke. You kind of say what you have in the moment. And when I started studying improv, after my term was up, I would think of something funnier to say, some way I could have taken it further. And I'd, punch myself internally. But as I got better at it, I was able to not only improv better, but also let go better, which helped keep me in the scene to participate with my partners even better. And all of this is in the context of something that critical grace theory said on TikTok of doing the work to create yourself. And I feel like that's so in line with what Rick has been writing these past few chapters of this is on an exploration journey of discovering who we are by making stuff. You see your own thoughts by writing them. You hear your own thoughts by speaking them. And after you've externalized them, at least for me and for many other people, it becomes you have something to look back on to say who you were, the diary entry, as Rick says in this section. Yeah, so for this episode, I was feeling really stuck because it's 3 pages. I'm like, what do I say about this? And I kept observing, as we talk about later, and I was able to come up with a bunch of stuff to talk about. So hopefully it's good. I also noticed this with my sexuality. If I let it flow, if I go through, then it keeps staying high. If I try to abstain for a little while, it does dry up, just like Rick says. And same with ideas. I keep trying to find better and better ideas, and that's been something I've been practicing for a really long time. And I would like to say I'm hopefully getting even better at it. So he talks about this letting go, and maybe a step back from an improv show is a serial show. Like, The Daily Show is every day. My show is every week. And there's a lot more next chances. I do wonder, though, if that maybe takes away from making it great. Like, if I really put all of my energy into just one episode, would it be even better? Or is this sort of sharing the process what makes this show great? I don't know. I don't know what makes it great for others. I know what makes it great for me is that I get to read this book and really think about it to apply it to my life, because I see this as a work in transition. It's being created as it's being shared, and I know my best work is still ahead of me. And this book so far seems to be pointing out how I can get there from here. But of course, this is a programming stream. Uh, Paintings don't really get versions 2 or 3 or anything like that, but apps certainly do. Websites certainly do. And I've seen people remake TikToks to have they make it even better the next time. And I think having more chances does help me let go and just go with the flow. So the basis, what he says of this abundance mindset is that you get what you're looking for. If you're looking for more ideas, you'll see more ideas. If you're looking for a pink elephant, you'll find a pink elephant. If you're looking for Waldo, hopefully you'll find him eventually. And I think I think different religious sects perhaps get, well, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about religion in relation to this at all. That's too heavy of a topic. But there does seem to be some sort of recency bias or sort of awareness of bias of like red Corvette. But I guess, and then later you see a red Corvette, or you're talking about, I don't know, red Corvettes, and later you see an ad for red Corvettes. Are they listening in, or is it coincidence? It's hard to say, but I think it shows that I tend to see what I'm looking for, which I feel could also be like a trap. The human mind is the great pattern recognizer, and it will make up patterns where there aren't necessarily a pattern. So do you feel like this might be a trap also? But I guess in the context of making something, of living a life, of looking for opportunities, believing that opportunity is out there to grow, to make something great, then perhaps you'll be ready for it when that opportunity does present itself. I think this is sports kind of also shows this, both basketball and American football. After the whatever happens, like they show the replay and the one guy was open, he was like, throw me the ball, and it doesn't happen. In that moment, the person throwing the ball wasn't observing everything that was happening and missed possibly a golden opportunity. And so far, it seems like kind of the basis of Rick's book is observing and being aware of what's happening internally and what possibilities exist externally. And, there's some ways you can practice this stuff. Back in 2007, I was writing app ideas every day with my team. That was a lot of fun. Because at least you know that whatever app idea you commit to is better than what you came up with, 2 other things you came up with. Same thing with video ideas. I've got a ton of those and no time. So 3 improvements to what I'm doing every day. Someone told me that when they're too busy, they actually get stuff done because they don't have the time to overthink it, which I think was pretty interesting, especially in light of last week's chapter about completing something, bringing something to completion so that you can move on to the next thing. I don't like living that way because I like to have time for reflecting, but perhaps that's just like another thing to add in to the schedule. Bitspector says, "What are ideas?" I'm not sure I understand the question. I guess an inspiration for something to do, an improvement for something that you're already working on. I guess I kind of see. I wish I had a drawing tool ready as like a node, and then you like travel to the next planet, a whole bunch of planets. You travel to the next planet, and then from that planet you see 3 other planets. And you pick one planet, you fly to that planet, and then you receive maybe 5 directions to go from there. Um, that's that's how my work goes. Um, I still believe my best work is still ahead of me, and doing this show is going to help me get there sooner rather than later. And I have a little video I wanted to share kind of on this topic. Oh, Randy says, ideas are constructs, reflections on the past, present, and future, and a way to create utilizing these reflections. That makes sense. So let's cut the music and bring in another little idea.
Are you a Raphael who gets things done? Or are you a Leonardo who starts project after project and never finishes anything? As popular as Leonardo is today, and as popular, if not more. In fact, for hundreds of years, Raphael's painting style was the basis of what was taught at the art academies around Europe. At one point, Raphael was getting paid a fortune to paint giant frescoes in the Pope's apartment in the Vatican. And I do mean a fortune. He bought a palace and was designing another palace. Meanwhile, Leonardo was across the courtyard in a room he was lent in the Belvedere Palace, blowing up cow guts and dressing up a lizard as a dragon. Unfortunately, Leonardo was a notorious procrastinator. The Pope had tried to hire him to paint something, but ended up exclaiming in frustration that he's never going to do anything. Which is too bad, because the frescoes Raphael was painting would have been the perfect gig for Leonardo. Raphael was making bank essentially as a more reliable Leonardo, and that Raphael was so much better at follow-through than Leonardo has less to do with discipline and more to do with what problems he was attracted to. Raphael's paintings used to look stiff and one-dimensional. This guy breaking a stick is supposed to look frustrated. But then Raphael came to Florence. While he was there, he witnessed a painting face-off between Leonardo and Michelangelo, which I talked about in another video. Suddenly his paintings got more realistic. This one in particular shows how heavily Raphael was influenced by Leonardo, not just because it's the exact same composition as Leonardo's Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa used to have these columns on either side. Leonardo was able to paint so realistically because he deeply understood the way the world worked. He developed a theory of so-called pyramids of light that scattered off every point on every surface, on every object, eventually converging in the eye of the viewer. And one of his biographers has compared it to modern-day ray tracing software like Pixar uses to render animations. Because he understood the way light worked, Leonardo made groundbreaking observations about the dark side of the moon. People couldn't figure out why the dark side of the moon still had light areas. Leonardo correctly theorized that light from the sun reflected off the Earth, thus making the dark side of the moon not so dark. You can see a similar phenomenon at work in Leonardo's Mona Lisa. Notice how the underside of her chin isn't completely dark. That's because light is reflecting off her shoulders and chest, illuminating the shadow. This is from Raphael's first recorded commission. Notice it's pretty basic use of light. The shadows are just darker. There's no indication of light reflecting into the shadows. Look at this painting again from after Raphael came to Florence. You'll notice a lot of reflected light in the shadows, such as on the underside of her chin. In fact, Raphael kind of overdid it. This tells us a lot about why Leonardo struggled to finish projects while Raphael could reliably crank out finished paintings. For Leonardo, a painting was a byproduct of much deeper exploration. Given that we have thousands of pages of his notes on everything from how water moved, to anatomy, to mechanics, to the moon, and most of his notes are believed to be lost, some historians believe he was trying to compile all human knowledge. For Raphael, a painting was a process of applying well-established methods. An anatomy study of Raphael looks like this, showing us what do the muscles look like on the surface. An anatomy study by Leonardo looks like this. What do the muscles underneath the surface look like? Where are the tendons? Which muscles connect to which nerves to express which emotions? I talked about this book in another video. David Gallinson has noticed some artists have a conceptual style. They execute a concept. As such, they are successful very early in their careers. Other artists have an experimental style. They spend their whole careers striving towards some vague goal. As such, they do their best work later in their careers. When Raphael was painting giant frescoes and Leonardo was across the courtyard, Raphael was about 30, Leonardo was about 60. Raphael had already done his most notable work, the School of Athens, and he was so successful he was already delegating a lot of painting to the largest workshop of assistants in the High Renaissance. Leonardo was still tweaking the Mona Lisa. He apparently never felt he had finished it. It was still in his studio when he died. Raphael was executing on concepts that had been hard-won by Leonardo through his observations of nature. In fact, part of the decline in Raphael's popularity was due to a movement in the 1800s that advocated abandoning the formulaic approach based upon Raphael taught in the art academies across Europe and towards observations of nature, the kinds that Leonardo made. That movement was called the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. So if you can't figure out why some creators finish one project after another while you can't seem to finish anything, it may have less to do with discipline and more to do with the nature of the problems that you are attracted to. You may be a Leonardo instead of a Raphael.
I find that video so inspiring. Wow, says Randy in the chat. Yeah, exactly. There's so much going on in there. And I felt like this concept that Rick is speaking of the abundant mindset kind of relates to Leonardo continually looking for something, as the TikToker says, some vague goal. And I I certainly relate to that. I feel like I am I'm looking for something that's kind of vague. But I also wonder if like I think it was Bitspector asked this last week, like isn't that a contradiction then? Like rush to completion, but also take your time to make it the best it can be? And I guess like, so how does this make sense in Randy says vague or deep, is there a difference? I think so. But yeah, I think last week Bitspector was asking rushing to completion so we can get on to the next thing, or bringing something to its highest expression. Aren't those in contradiction? And I guess thinking about what this TikToker is saying about Leonardo is maybe what you're making isn't what you're making. Like, it so happened that Leonardo, made some paintings, and those paintings helped him along his journey. But I guess what he's most famous for is apparently his notebooks, like the Vitruvian Man, like that one. That's it's basically just a sketch drawing, and it's like become massively famous. And I don't have a picture to show at the moment anyway. But it's that guy with the circle, that guy standing inside of a circle in a square with 4 hands and 4 legs. You've definitely seen it before. Yeah, so at least for me, it seems like there's these plateaus of places where I could stop and get good at, but I'm looking for something behind that. Like for Leonardo, yeah, he did sculpting, he did inventing, he did painting and math. Like as a kid, I was good at math, but I was looking for something more. So there's programming. I could stop there and get really good at programming, but I feel like I've learned lots and lots of languages and frameworks. I've learned how to do consulting and freelancing, and now I'm learning sort of streaming and content creation. But I'm still kind of looking for something new behind all this stuff. Whereas in the TikTok I showed, I guess Raphael focused on just being a good painter, and that's what he did. He just really liked painting, I guess. Uh, which I don't think there's anything bad with that. Uh, it's certainly a way to be, but I guess I'm noticing in my life, I'm going through these plateaus, like places where I could stop and get really good, or I could keep digging for a newer idea, a deeper idea. Oh, and here's oh, I can click the link and it shows up. Oh, perfect. Can I scroll? I can't scroll. Can I scroll with arrow keys? No. Oh, that sucks. Because the picture is right there, right underneath. It looks like I can click, but like not click at the same time. I just want to show the picture. There we go. Here's what? Why can't it be displayed? There it is. It's like a sketch, and this is like he's so famous for this. Um, from reading through this article, it looks like he kind of kept it in his collection, and so like it wasn't published in the same way that maybe some of his other stuff was. Um, but yeah, I'm starting to create my own notebooks of my own stuff. Uh, Currently, it's on GitLab, uh, and I'll add subscribers for now if anyone wants to take a peek. Um, Putting all my ideas in there, all my seeds and my project management, uh, as inspired by Rick and other project management ideas. Um, so yeah, putting that out there if anyone wants access. Yeah, that was the last slide I had. Uh, yeah, so what do you all think? Do you feel you have enough ideas? Do you feel like you have too many ideas, or do you have an abundance of ideas? And what's your process for figuring out what to do next? What to devote yourself to? Oh, and I can turn the music back on. Randy says, I feel a drive to be a craftsman, but I need ideas to craft. Oh, I've got plenty of ideas. I can definitely add you to the seeds repo. Oh, we talked about that in Discord after the new year, you said. This is the Hudson River at sunrise, by the way. The Hudson River does flow two ways. It's an estuary, I guess, down here. But I really like this idea of the sun is rising and the river is flowing away from me upstream. Yeah, I really like what he says here that an artist is free to release them with the faith that more will arrive. Like sometimes literally just thinking the idea is all I have time to do, but still that is sometimes enough to step on to the next to the next idea behind it. So I guess each published piece of art is sort of putting out another stepping stone so folks can catch up with you. I know in my story I've taken really big leaps. It must have looked like from the outside, but internally it was actually a bunch of kind of clear steps. I just didn't share it. Well, maybe that's all for now. I hope you have an abundant week full of fresh ideas and plenty of time to do them. Oh, Randy says, so I think of the river and letting an idea go free in it, knowing there'll be more water to float new ideas. It's a little freeing. Yeah, it certainly helps lower the stakes. Certainly helps lower the stakes to trust that more ideas will come, that more chances will happen. Because trying too hard doesn't always, have the intended effect. You can see this in basketball. There's 30 seconds on the clock, and the team that's down 10 points is making very silly mistakes that they were not making in the first quarter. Yeah, right now I'm applying to those final minutes take forever too. Yeah, with the timeouts and the commercial breaks. Yeah, right now I'm applying to the David Prize, and I'm a little behind because it's due tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I didn't cancel my stream today or anything. I have pretty good first rough drafts. And it was pretty overwhelming yesterday, but I do have a rough draft for each of the 8 questions. But there's also an optional introduce yourself video, which we have gray skies today in the city. We had beautiful blue skies earlier. Yeah, better get it sent. Yeah, it's due Monday at 5, and I work all day Monday, so it's gotta do it tonight. Well, there's no wrong answers. There's no wrong answers, Bit Spectre. Thank you, Randy. Randy says good luck and be blessed with it. I hope so. It would open up a lot more possibilities for me to work on stuff, work on some of my own ideas, as opposed to working for clients, which is also really, I love working for clients. Just I have all this stuff that I want to do, which currently is, nights and weekends and between jobs and all that. The more we share, the more our skills improve. That's certainly true in improv. Certainly true in programming. I can say like both those things. The more I did, the better I got. Was there anything that I held back and got better on? I don't think so. I guess sort of you learn by doing. And if you want to publish stuff, then you practice publishing.